Am I the asshole for refusing to stop having girls' nights in just because my boyfriend thinks it's wrong? Hi. I know, it's off to a solid start. Yeah. Hi, so I've been seeing this guy, Will, 27 male, for months now. He's so sweet and funny and creative. We don't live together, but we do meet at my place every weekend. He called and asked what we will be doing on Friday, and I said I wanted to host a girls' night in, since it was my turn. He asked what the heck a girls' night in was, and he got quiet, then asked if I was being serious. I was confused, as he started talking about how outdated and so 1950s these events are, and said that I should stop promoting and advocating for those events as they're so toxic and flat out reek of misogyny.
Okay.
I was shocked by his long rant, but he said that that was his honest opinion. I told him regardless, I still plan to host the event after he tried talking me out of it and suggested we go out together. He threw a fit after he suggested bringing his guy friends to join us, and I refused, since this is not how GNIs work. He called me a sexist and misogynistic for having a girls' night in and making it so obvious instead of being ashamed of myself. He said that my mentality will cause me issues in the future, especially if I behave like that in a professional work setting. Let me tell you, I was blown away by how he got so worked up like that over me just missing my girls and wanting to spend time with them. We argued some more and he hung up on me after I said I will not stop hosting or being a part of girls' night ins. I tried to call and apologize for lashing out later, but he sent a text saying he was hurt by how I handled our back to pick me up. The timing was bad because there was an important football game yesterday, and it was really important for my partner to watch it. I am not English, so I don't quite get the importance, but it's a big deal for him. I wanted to make sure he'd see the game. I suggested booking a room near the hospital so we wouldn't miss it due to the drive, but he wanted to see the game at a friend's place. He said he'd make it. While we were waiting to get me discharged, he was getting agitated because it was taking so long. He had to wait outside, so he was in the car the whole time because of restrictions at the hospital. After a couple of hours, he sent me a text that he had to leave or he'd miss the game. I begged him not to leave and reminded I could book a hotel, but he left without me and luckily made it on time to see the start of the game. He said he'd come pick me up tomorrow instead. The hospital wouldn't let me stay over another night or leave alone. Luckily, one of my friends came to get me in the end. She didn't get to the hospital until late, and we got back to London around 2 a.m. The whole time I was trying to call and text my partner, but he only said we could talk about it today. The whole evening I was texting and calling my partner, ever since the moment he left me at the hospital. He only sent me one "what's up" back that said he'd pick me up later but wanted to see the game. When I got home in the night, he was so angry at me. He said I was the most selfish asshole for completely ringing and texting him during the game, and that I ruined the game for him and embarrassed him in front of his friends.
I hate him.
He said he cannot even look at me and that I bring so much drama with me, it's humiliating to him. I feel at a complete loss. Bye! Bye! I think I might be the asshole for not understanding the cultural significance of football and asking my boyfriend to do a completely unreasonable drive to pick me up. But on the other hand, we could have watched the game in a hotel room and I wouldn't have been left alone in a hospital in another country. Am I the asshole?
I'm reading this title, you guys, and I'm already going to give them my asshole stamp because I don't think there's any way, shape, or form that this person can be right. Am I the asshole for being glad that my future sister-in-law had a miscarriage before my wedding? I swear that's the title, guys. I know this sounds very bad, but hear me out. Me, 24 male, and my fiance, 22 female, are planning to get married this summer. Now, one of her bridesmaids is her sister, 27 female, who planned to attend our wedding while 7 months pregnant. I obviously really didn't like that, as I figured that her pregnancy would steal attention from us, especially as she's one of the bridesmaids. And she's honestly such an attention seeker that I wouldn't put it past her to have gotten pregnant purposefully before our wedding in order to upstage us. But there was no way I could have excluded her from the wedding, as she's my fiance's sister, so I just dropped it. Oh my god, this guy is so insecure. First of all, okay, no one's gonna be looking at a pregnant lady at your wedding, okay? She's already done her wedding, she's already done all that. She's pregnant, like she's living her happy-go-lucky life. No one cares about you that much to plan their life around your wedding. I'm not gonna not get pregnant because your wedding's coming up to not upstage you. Like, you are a selfish piece of shit for even having that kind of thought process. And you're 24, you should be an adult, and you're getting married and you think like this. You just sound like a very, very insecure and jealous person. However, she recently had a miscarriage, and while I felt sorry for her, I was also kind of glad about it because now she wouldn't be able to upstage us at our wedding. Can someone explain to me how someone being pregnant at your wedding would any way, shape, or form upstage you? I've been to so many weddings where there's pregnant people there. I don't think anyone has ever given anyone more attention there. If they announce their pregnancy at your wedding, that's different. But if they're visibly pregnant, like, calm down. My fiance took me with her in order to console her sister, and there I said, well, you should see the glass half full. Now at least you can wear a smaller bridesmaid dress at our wedding. My fiance glared at me, and then her sister said, is your wedding the only thing you fucking care about? I tried to de-escalate the situation, but she just kept unloading on me about how much of a sadistic narcissistic I am, and when I've had enough, I told her, well, I'm sorry that your failed pregnancy won't allow you to upstage us at our wedding anymore, which made her burst into tears. My fiance tried to calm her down, but my future sister-in-law just told us to get out of her house, which we did. All hell broke loose at home when my fiance started scolding me about how I could be so insensible at her sister's recent trauma, but I told her that she was the one who started to insult me over an inoffensive mark meant to cheer her up. We've had a big argument about it, and I'm sleeping in the guest room. She's still very bitter about it and says that she doesn't know if she'll be able to go through with the wedding if her sister decides to drop out of it because of me. I think she's overreacting about the whole situation, as her sister would probably stir up some trouble at the wedding anyway, but maybe I should have indeed handled the situation with her miscarriage better than how I did. So, am I the asshole?
This is how I found out my dad was following me on OnlyFans. Disclaimer, it's not my story time, it's not on Instagram. My mom and dad had me when they were really young. My mom was 17 and my dad was 19. For some reason, my mom doesn't like talking about him, so I never really found out exactly how they broke up. All I know is that they stayed together until I was 5 years old. Something really bad happened, and then my mom kicked him out of the house. Like I said, I don't even know what happened. When I was 12 years old, he begged my mom to come back, and she let him live in the apartment we had. But he's pretty much a deadbeat. He didn't help my mom pay for the bills. He didn't even want to get a job. He even went as far as begging my mom to become a stripper. He said that she would make way more money than the job she had. She was a secretary at the time. When I was 15, he left our house again. I never got a bad feeling from him when he was living with us though. With a lot of hard work, my mom was able to put me through college. I graduated and I got a really good job. I bought my mom and me a house and we moved in together. Then COVID happened and I lost my job. Friends suggested I start OnlyFans and I decided to do it. I started making a lot more money than I ever thought I would. Some months I was making around $20,000. This one guy would send me $1,000 every single week. In exchange for pictures. Part 2 is up. This is how I found out my dad was following me on OnlyFans. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it's on Instagram. So this one guy started sending me $1,000 every single week. In exchange, I would send him private photos. Everything was totally fine until he started asking me questions. He would ask me things like, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite dessert? Because it's OnlyFans, I never really answered honestly. But then one day he told me, you love The Little Mermaid, don't you? And I was like, what? Because The Little Mermaid was my favorite movie as a kid. Watched it at least 3 times a week when I was a kid. First I thought it was a cousin playing a joke on me, so I decided to block them. The next day I get another message. This one says, I remember how you used to love hot dogs. That's when I really shit myself. Because my dad and I would make hot dogs every single Friday. It was our thing together. Like I said, he was a deadbeat, so he couldn't afford anything more than cheap hot dogs. And that's when he said, I have a confession. And before I could reply, he said, I'm your dad. I felt so disgusted. I blocked him and then blocked him from my cell phone too. That's when he sends me a long text message explaining why he signed up to my OnlyFans. He said that he was just trying to get to know me, that all he really wanted was to get me back as his daughter. Then why ask for nudes? Part 3 is up. This is how I found out my dad was following me on OnlyFans. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sending me on Instagram. As soon as I read his long text message about why he signed up, I once again blocked him. 20 minutes later, there's a knock on my door. Yep, it's my fucking father. Started knocking on the door so hard my neighbors came out, called 911 and they came within a minute. I live in an area where there aren't too many people, so my house is really easy to find. Saw my dad walk to the backyard and try to get in through the back. That's when a cop stopped him and asked him what he was doing. Then he told the cop that I had invited him over. Then the cop comes to my door and asked me if I had invited him. I told him I didn't. Then I told the cop about OnlyFans. My dad was so ashamed he actually denied it. But of course I had all the receipts. I showed the cop my phone and the cop told him that he needed to leave me alone. He left my house and I didn't have the heart to tell my mom. But later that night I see another person sign up to my OnlyFans. Turns out it was my dad again. This time he was offering me $3,000 for more pictures. And he confessed that he couldn't help but love me as a woman because I didn't grow up with him. Excuse me, sir? You raised me for half of my childhood. Wanted to get a restraining order, but the judge says it's not that easy. So now I'm considering closing my OnlyFans. I don't think it's fair though. What should I do?